you go.
Okay, good morning, and I'll call to order the May 2nd, 2022 regular meeting of the Haywood County Board of Commissioners. Our first order of business is our Pledge of Allegiance and then our invocation. I'll have Pastor Josh Frazier come forward for that. So if everyone please stand for the pledge.
Let us pray. God in heaven, we thank you for another beautiful day, to be able to be here on this planet, to be in this state and to be in this county. What an awesome blessing it is. We thank you for the many blessings that you've given to each one of us individually to allow us to be in the places that we are. I think we could all stop and say for a moment we are blessed, and we thank you for that. We ask for today that you would give just understanding and knowledge to the situations that need to be had, and we pray that you would give wisdom in every situation, in every area, and all that we say and do. We pray that you would continue to guide each person in our lives to make the right decisions. I thank you for our commissioners and all that they do, for the people that make this meeting happen, for all the people that work in our government, our county, our cities, and our state. We pray that you continue to guide them. We ask that today would just be a fruitful and productive time. We thank you for all that you do. In your name we pray. Amen.
Okay, thank you, Pastor Josh. Appreciate you coming out today. Our next order of business is our public comment session. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Tracy will keep the time and let you know when your time's up. I think she's got a beeper that goes off. And if you would just finish up your comments. I have some people that have signed up to speak. Our first speaker is Deborah Wiley. Welcome, Deborah.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'd like to address the concern about spending ARPA money on pickleball courts at Allens Creek Park. I've sent all of you a fact sheet that I hope you had the time to read, giving the basics of pickleball. But as you know, the popularity of pickleball is tremendous, and it's growing at least 20% per year. There's a common misconception here in Haywood County that pickleball benefits only the Florida people. Well, I have a petition here that's signed by over 60 pickleball players and other supporters, and most of them are locals since most of the Floridians aren't back here. And I estimate that there's well over 100 pickleball players just in Waynesville, and the recreation center is teaching more every week. Yes, pickleball is a tremendous benefit for seniors. It keeps them physically fit, socially active, improves coordination, and helps them promote a healthy lifestyle. And 25% of Haywood County residents are over 65. So that's a lot of seniors, whether locals or not. But pickleball is played by all ages. It's taught in Haywood County Public Schools. We have seen 3 generations playing together: grandparents, parents, children. There are even parent-child tournaments, like one being held in Charlotte in June. The sport is easy to play, so people of all abilities can play together and still have fun. Pickleball is a tourist attraction. Many pickleballers choose vacation destinations based on the availability of courts. We've all played with out-of-towners at the Armory or at the Rec Center. Look at Little Hiawassee, Georgia, a town of 1,000 people in a county of 10,000 people. They spent the money and put in a 14 pickleball court complex. In their first tournament held in 2015, they estimated that the economic impact was over $400,000, and that was just their first tournament. They continue to have lots of events, boot camps, tournaments, clinics, you name it. So why pickleball courts when we already have 2 places to play indoors, the Armory and the Waynesville Rec Center? Well, it serves a different population. Of course, there's some overlap, but the younger population and those who work have no place to play. The indoor courts, the times are really geared towards seniors, and that's fine, but people who work and people who go to school have no place to play. So outdoor players would be more casual players, the younger population, and the people who don't want to pay to play. With a 6-court complex, the county could hold clinics and tournaments, youth leagues, and a variety of pickleball events. Black Mountain hosts a pickleball boot camp every year. They have over 50 attendees, dozens of instructors, lots of spectators, and they all stay for a week. They rent rooms, they eat in restaurants, they shop in the stores. So why not in Haywood County? We have a beautiful place here. So I respectfully urge you to support the building of the pickleball courts at Allens Creek Park for the benefit of seniors, youth, economic development, and the community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next person signed up to speak is Eric Overholt. Welcome, Eric.
Good morning. My name is Eric Overholtz, and this morning I would like to address comments that were made last meeting about harm reduction and talk about your options in regard to the state's opioid settlement. I will be the first to readily acknowledge that the County Commission early last year finally decided to end the county's contract in funding of North Carolina's harm reduction needle exchange program. And yes, that was a good and wise decision. But also acknowledge that you could have and should have pulled the plug on this program much earlier. Also acknowledge the fact that the same North Carolina harm reduction program still operates in Haywood County to this date through mobile services. They just get their funding from other sources. I understand that you do not have control over this other funding, but you should acknowledge the damage inflicted by harm reduction tactics on this county. You've seen the stats on overdoses. It's not getting any better. Many of you have family or friends that have been personally affected by this. I heard from a very credible source the other day that just prior to a local church's Easter egg hunt, adults scanned the church grounds and they picked up 24 discarded syringes. Folks, we need to acknowledge that we have a very serious problem with drugs in this county. You are about to receive in the neighborhood of $5 million from the state's North Carolina's opioid settlement. The state allows you to use these funds utilizing 2 options, Option A, Option B. Option A is designed for a quicker dispersal of funds through existing programs and recommending the usage of some of these same harm reduction strategies, including needle exchange programs that I have been discussing. Option B requires more work and input from a wider array of stakeholders, including listening to the general public. I urge you to go with Option B and listen to what our community is trying to tell you. Funding more harm reduction is tantamount to funding our own demise. But please study this. My personal preference is to send addicts to a rehab center out of the area that is already up and running, one that is abstinent-based, gets the addict away from the drug-pushing sources, and avoids harm reduction practices. Personally, I'd like to see one with a faith component as well, but please explore these possibilities. Why not consider taking a good portion of that $5 million settlement and fund and promote opportunities such as this? It'll take some hard work, it'll take planning, cooperation from some key players, but I am one who believes it is worth trying. As Christians, I think it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next person signed up to speak is Sherry Morgan. Welcome, Sherry.
Thank you. Good morning. I've studied Attorney General Josh Stein's guidelines for the $5 million opioid settlement Haywood County will receive. He stated the money will be distributed to the county commissioners, which with community input will decide how to invest the money to save lives. He said there should be full transparency with the settlement funds so the public will know which programs each government funds and how effective the program was. He said we want the money to have the maximum impact so that more lives will be saved. He called for the citizens to make their voices heard, and the opinion coming from a large group of citizens is to choose option B. Choose a great rehab facility and offer it to our citizens. Kevin, you expressed your concerns for our children at the last meeting. This money shouldn't be spent on transients when even children in our schools are addicted to drugs and parents have no money to send them to a great rehab facility. This money is for Haywood County citizens, not for the transient vagrant that passes through and gets an ID card with a shelter address. We want evidence-based addiction treatment, not putting an addict in a low-barrier shelter situation and supplying them with crack kits and needles. In Haywood County, we've even supplied the drug dealers with crack kits and needles to hand out with their crack, meth, and heroin sales. We say no. These methods are a proven failure of the Socialist Party. A socialist social worker will say enable with low barrier shelters and supply them with crack kits and needles. A psychiatrist will say a drug-free rehab facility is the only way to remission and a chance for our Haywood County citizens to have a healthy, happy, productive life. Option B could also include a criminal justice diversion program, which is not the failed socialist pretrial release program. Give the addict a choice, rehab or jail. Either way, they'll go through detox, but rehab will give them a chance to break the cycle. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, would anyone else like to address the board this morning? Even though you didn't sign up, you can still address the board if you'd like. Okay, I'll close the public comment session. We'll move on to constituent concerns. I have some items I want to talk about. On April 19th, at its yearly educational conference, the North Carolina Sedimentation Control Commission presented the Local Program Award for Excellence in Erosion and Sedimentation Control to the Haywood County Erosion Control Program. Our Erosion Control and Sediment Program is housed within the Haywood County Development Services Office, and the core of it is 2.5 full-time equivalent personnel that is supported by management and clerical staff. The Board of Commissioners would like to recognize the Development Services employees who serve and support the county on these efforts. And they are, and if you would stand when I call out your name, Tim Surratt, welcome Tim, Cole Sutton, Mark Pruitt, Jody Ferguson, hey Jody, Stacy Henson, Crystal Moore, Sammy Joe Franklin, Sandra Kirkendall, and Teresa Deaver. So we appreciate this recognition and thank y'all for all your hard work. I know I work with y'all a lot because of what I do, and I know one time we were thinking about having this program turned back over to the state and let them administer it, but when we did that, we had people come forward that were very much supportive of you guys and the local program. So that speaks well that they would rather have you guys administer the program than the state. So I know you try to work with people, and the main thing you do is try to keep our streams clean. All the water starts in Haywood County, and so we want to be good stewards of that when it leaves, and I think this program really points to that. So, but thank y'all. Okay, and then the second item I'd like to, I've got three, is there will be a small reception celebrating and honoring the retirement of Human Resource Director Kathy McClure. Immediately following this morning's meeting, the reception will be held in a hallway behind our courtroom. Kathy retires with 27.5 years of service with the county. She's changed the life of several of our employees who are facing huge obstacles in their lives and will greatly be missed by all. And her employees this morning are Gloria and Lori and Coleman. We appreciate y'all being here this morning. And her husband Danny's here this morning with her. Appreciate you coming out too. But Kathy, I know I appreciate your work, and I think I sent you an email. I remember when Marty had you come on board, he was so excited to have you here because Human Resources was, it was floundering a little bit maybe, for lack of a better word, but you came in and just really straightened it out, and we appreciate that. And you have changed a lot of employees' lives. I've heard their stories, so we thank you for that and everything. Okay, and then the third thing I would like to announce is that, is Terry Kelly here? Do you want to do that, Bryant?
I don't see Dr. Kelly, but I can make the introduction if that's okay.
Go ahead.
I'd like to welcome Sally Dixon. She's through the NC State Cooperative Extension. They have gone through the hiring process, and Sally will be starting as our Cooperative Extension Director, replacing Bill Skelton. So, Sally, up to the.
Would you like to come
yourself.
forward and say something?
Here this morning. I'll introduce myself briefly, but I'm Sally Dixon. I've lived in Haywood County for my entire life. I grew up in 4-H in this county and graduated from Tuscola High School. I've got a bachelor's degree in agriculture from NC State and a master's degree in agriculture from the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. I like to tell people I've never been to a university that has a winning football team, but Tennessee is ranked #1 in baseball in the country, so that's a blessing. I'm very, very excited to be here and be coming back home to be the Extension Director. I've spent the past 4.5 years as the 4-H agent with the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, so I've still lived in the county. I just haven't worked here. I'm very, very excited and blessed to be able to continue our mission with Extension of fortifying our local food system in the county and ensuring that we have the best programming for community engagement and youth engagement. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Okay. And Tennessee is that's one of my son's favorite teams. So, but we're starving for good football anyway. When you go to East Tennessee in the fall, and it's a Saturday, and it's a game that day, it's a sea of orange over there. So, okay. Does any of the let's see, Tommy, do you got any constituent concerns?
Well, just following up on some of the flood-related damage that we had last August, had some issues with some septic systems. I'd like to thank Garen and the county staff for coming alongside some of the residents up there and getting that straightened out. And I know we had some farmers that were impacted, and I think they got everything straightened out. So thank you for that.
Just the same comments as Tommy. I think I got some of the same phone calls, so we appreciate our staff, especially during all this flooding that we've had. You know, seems like during the time of COVID and the flooding, which is two big deals that's impacted our county pretty largely over the last couple of years, our staff has stepped up. So just a special thank you to them. And I think Kathy, was Danny going to give a speech this morning? Is that what you going to do that now, Danny, or? Danny's a man of few words, right? No, we appreciate y'all. Appreciate all the staff that was recognized this morning, and all the folks. We appreciate you. We couldn't have the county that we have and be blessed like we are if we didn't have good people like y'all. So thank you.
Amen. Kirk, you got any?
Yeah, I'd like to personally thank Kathy. For several years, she and I had to deal with multiple things, and she was very helpful with that. Especially when I was chairman, with a couple of matters, and she was always very thorough and made very good recommendations regarding personnel, and made it easy. It's so much easier and so much more fun to be part of running the county when you have good people assisting you, and you're one of those good people, and we appreciate you very much.
Jennifer, you.
Yeah, so the first thing I'd like to say is congratulations to the soil and sediment folks back there. I serve on that board as the commissioner. That's one of the boards I serve on, and it's probably my favorite board. It's they do a very good job out there, but they're very kind and try very hard to work with our citizens or residents when they have an issue. So I enjoy serving with them, and I appreciate what you guys do. And Kathy, I've only worked with you for about a year and a half, I guess, and I've seen her in some tough situations, and you've always rallied and come out and been of wise judgment and guidance for all of us. So thank you, and I wish you the best in retirement. I hope you get to do all the things we all wait to do. So, and congratulations. I think Sally left already, but congratulations to the new Extension Director. We worked with Bill Skelton for a long time. My son was in FFA and through the high school, and so it's good to have somebody new on board, and I'm sure she's going to do a great job.
Okay. I'll move on to administrative agency reports and presentations. And we have our Haywood County Tourism Development Authority mid-year report and program updates. And we have our TDA Executive Director, Lynn Collins, here this morning. Welcome, Lynn. You got a PowerPoint for us?
Good morning. Thank you. Is it on? Okay. First of all, I would like to say that this week is National Travel and Tourism Week, and we celebrate that every year in several different ways. This week, our visitor center staff is going to the I-40 Welcome Center and both of the I-26 Welcome Centers. They will visit one, they're at I-40 today, and then on Wednesday and Friday they will be at the other two, sharing information about Haywood County and inviting folks that come through those welcome centers to come and visit us in Haywood County. We also have these stickers that we do, and they say, "Thanks for traveling." And so we have provided posters and stickers to our tourism partners here in the county, hotels and motels, accommodations, our retailers, our restaurants, just to let everybody know that we do appreciate them coming here. So this is the mid-year report, a little bit late, running behind, but tourism numbers run 2 months behind anyway, so you all have had some full agendas recently, so it's all good news, and it's never too late to share good news. We'll start out with the 3% report, which is what you have in front of you. And as you can see, things are still going quite well for tourism in Haywood County. The column on the left shows the original occupancy tax projections for this budget year. And back in January, we were so far ahead of projections, the board chose to add about 23% in revenue to that. And so that's the second column that you see. As you can see, we're doing pretty well against that. Those projections as well. So last week they added an additional $150,000 in revenue. So we had some projects that we would like to get completed before the end of the year, so hopefully we will get all of those done. Next, you have the 1% report, which shows all of the zip codes, and it shows their projections as well as their actual numbers. And then it shows the comparison to the previous year. So obviously, all of the zip codes are still well ahead, just as it pretty much tracks the same as the 3%. As I go through this, if you have any questions, please feel free to stop and ask me. The next slide is a look at the 4%, the total 4% occupancy tax since the 4% was implemented. Legislation was passed in 2007 and we started collecting in 2008. And as you can see how it's grown over the years, this is inclusive of the 1% and the 3% together. The highlighted numbers that you see are the beginning of COVID, shows when we shut down, and then it shows the couple of months coming out of COVID. It looks like we are on track to hit the 3 million mark this year. You can see that last year, 2021, we collected more than $1 million more than we had in the previous year. We track our occupancy by types of accommodation categories. And so this shows July through January. And what's interesting about this is that in January, we set an all-time record for the percentage of vacation rentals, which is interesting that we would hit that mark in January, but we did. January was 79% vacation rentals. The next report you have is called the STAR Report. It's from Smith Travel Research out of Tennessee. They track hotel and motel occupancy and average daily rate. So this shows the last year or so, and if you look at the column on the right-hand side, you will see that we are about 29.6% ahead of the previous year. There's a lot of fluctuation in the hotel motel. Once event season starts, you always see an uptick with the hotel motel percentage rates going up at that point, as well as their average daily rate and revenue per available room. The next slide that you have is called the Air DNA report, and this is basically the same thing as the Smith Travel report, but it's for vacation rentals. So this just shows the chart from a year's worth, and you can see that in February 21 we had 899 listings for vacation rentals, and in February of 22 we had 1,344 listings for vacation rentals. Even though, if you go down to the occupancy, it shows that the occupancy was a little bit less in the month of February than the previous year. However, because of the increased inventory, it still rounded out and ended up being a little bit better month than last year. And also on the ADR, which is average daily rate, which is towards the bottom of the sheet, you'll see that the average daily rate was a little higher than it was last year. This is some research that's done by Arrivalist. It's a company we contract with, and they can track visitation to your area. We can go in and designate points of interest. So we have this actually broken down by zip code. So they track this information by pixels on your phone. And for instance, in the town of Waynesville, we have Main Street designated as a point of interest. And so we've gone through the different zip codes and designated the most popular areas that we see visitation. So even on the individual zip code reports, we can tell them, you know, where their people are coming from. We can tell them, for instance, if they've got a festival going on and we have that area marked as a point of interest, we can tell them how many people came, how long they stayed at the festival, where they went after they left the festival. So it gives us good information as far as being able to target our marketing and also remarket. As you can see, it has the top origin markets on it. The trips by day of week, it shows that overall for the county, Friday night is the most popular night. Average nights stayed is 1.3. You will see on the individual zip code reports that the average night stayed varies by zip code. And it also gives you the trips by average distance traveled, which is 312.5 miles. So as I said, this is, and comparing the 21 versus 20, it shows that we had a little over 500,000 additional visits in 21 than we did in 20. Pre-COVID, our advertising and marketing campaign was Hey Now, which was a very popular campaign. When COVID hit, we stopped everything, and then when we decided to go back and start doing some more advertising, our agency came up with a new campaign to use throughout COVID, which was called Embrace Unusual, and that was a very popular campaign, and we had good results from that campaign. So now that we're coming out of that, we wanted to go back, and since Hey Now was so popular, we decided to do a Hey Now 2.0. And so they have updated the logo, the Hey Now logo, and they have added a new tagline for us. And all of the taglines start with Haywood. Hey, would you like to step things up? Hey, would you like to go with the flow? Hey, would you like to get high for a hiking shot? So this is an example of some of the print ads that we have. And this is an example of some of the online ads that we will be doing. And once again, everything starts with that Haywood. One thing that we're doing this year, since we had such a great year last year and had some additional fund balance, we decided to designate $500,000, set that aside for a one-time project fund, and open that up for capital projects. And that is available to municipalities like Junaluska and the county. And the deadline for those grant applications was Friday, and I think I have 8 applications. I got one from all of the zip codes, got one from the county, and got one from Lake Junaluska. So I think there's a couple of the zip codes that actually sent in too. So we will be looking at those and hopefully awarding that money in June. And the projects will have 2 years until June 30, 2024 to be completed. And I can tell you that we do have the applications total more than that $500,000 that we set aside, but we'll take a look at that, and looks like we're having another good year this year, so maybe we can award some additional funds for those projects. Another thing that we're currently working on is strategic plan. We finished our previous strategic plan in 2019, and we had begun some preliminary work on a new strategic plan, but when COVID hit, we decided we just needed to hold on that. So we have gotten back on that, and we have decided that this will be a strategic destination plan. And this is something that will look at the whole county. We have 3 different groups that are working together. We had our board retreat last month, and actually it was in March. And so the board retreat was spent working with our consultants on this as part of the planning process. And they are interviewing individual stakeholders throughout the county, doing interviews with them from all different fields of business, and just to make sure that they're covering all bases. So that plan is to be delivered in December, so we're looking forward to see what they have to say there for that. A couple of other notes. We also, with our new ad campaign, marketing and advertising campaign, we also have a new commercial, and we showed that to the board members, and we've shown it to a few other groups, and that everybody loved it. It's talks about all the things there are to see and do here in Haywood County. But then every once in a while in the commercial, it has this animated elk that says, "Hey now." And so we've gotten lots of great response from it. So hopefully you all will see that soon. We're dedicating some of that additional money to a regional campaign through June 30th. And so we'll have that commercial playing there. And I think that's about it, unless anybody has any questions.
I got any questions?
Lynn, where do you see the majority of our travelers coming from? Are they driving a day, more than a day, 5 hours? How far away are they coming from?
Based on this report, the average distance traveled is 312 miles. It's primarily the southeast region, but we have seen a lot of travelers here from Texas. We've seen Utah, we've seen California, we've seen Colorado. We've seen a lot of places that we don't normally see, but primarily the southeast.
Good to know.
Anything else?
I don't have any questions. I serve on that board, and right now it's a really easy board to serve on. I mean, Lynn's kind of downplaying the whole report. I mean, that report is astounding as far as the percentage of people that are coming to visit here year over year, month over month. I mean, we're setting a record every single month, and I'm kind of wondering when the month's going to come where it's just flat, because and the numbers have been something. And you know, I went to Mount Pleasant this weekend to see my kids, and you know, they tell me about the number of people that they run into in Mount Pleasant that actually, recognize Waynesville and Haywood County. It used to be kind of just Maggie Valley. Maybe somebody would know. But, and I see that in my office and the number of people that purchase here from other places. And then a lot of them are purchasing homes so they can Airbnb those homes as well. But I mean, we've been truly blessed through this COVID situation, as well as just even if there had not been a COVID situation, as far as the sheer number of visitors that we have here to support this economy. And if we didn't, I guarantee you we would notice the difference. We don't notice it because they are here and we see that we have a good economy, but if they weren't here, we would notice that. And fortunately, we live in a place that it may be difficult for cellular stuff and Wi-Fi, but it's awfully popular for people to come visit to see these lovely mountains. But Lynn, you're doing a good job. I feel like the board's really doing a good job trying to stay in front of everything to make sure that we don't lose interest in being a destination spot.
Thank you. Just as a note to what Kirk said, we have had 20 straight months of record-setting numbers. In the first time we saw any softening at all was in February, but it was still a record-setting month. So we have a great board. We've had a lot of turnover on the board just because of people terming out and a few people leaving for various different reasons. And we have, it's a different board this year, but it's very good. They're very progressive, and they're a lot of fun to work with. So we appreciate all their dedication to what we're doing. So.
I got a question, Lynn. First of all, like Kirk said, great job. Not only month over month, but it looks like year over year we keep increasing and setting new records. But the $1 million grant that you talked about, how do you go about awarding that? Is that something the board decides on?
The one-time project fund?
Yes.
Okay. We actually are going to have a committee of 5. It's going to be 2 TDA board members and 3 business people from within the community that will review those and make recommendations to the TDA board. And then the TDA board will have the final vote on that.
Okay. I think that's awesome. I mean, to give that opportunity out. I know that I'd be surprised if you didn't get as many applications as you did, because that's something great to offer. So, again, thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Well, just to echo what everyone else has said, the thing I'm seeing personally is people come here, and as a guy told me in the real estate business here not long ago, he said, we've been discovered. And travelers, people coming in for a 2 to 3 day getaway, they like it so well, they're repeat visitors. They come, they like it, they come back, and they come back, and they come back, and they come back. So Haywood County does have a lot to offer. The natural beauty that surrounds us, being so close to the Smoky Mountains National Park, the Blue Ridge Parkway, it's just, there's just so much to offer here, and people realize that, and we have been discovered. So your numbers are proving that. So
yeah. We've been very fortunate. I know a lot of destinations who had the opposite thing happen during COVID, so we are very fortunate. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thanks, Lynn. I'd sent an email to my fellow commissioners. They opened up the bike park on Saturday a week ago, and they had the fellow that does the social media who just kind of put it, I guess he's got a following, but it was out for 3 days. It's a very professional video on YouTube that he put out. And David and Francis told me about it. Go to Berm. If you want to go to Berm Park, just Google Berm, B-E-R-M Park. And he did a very professional video of that facility in Canton. And there was 465,000 views in 3 days. 465,000 views. So, and then from that, I guess David had volunteered that Saturday, and he talked to people from, I think you said Pennsylvania, Connecticut, that had seen it on the Texas, really? Vermont, Oklahoma, okay. So anyway, they were coming to the bike park. So I think one thing that's happening in TDA is the outdoor recreation angle that we're doing now is what people are coming here for, because, and they don't care about, well, I say they don't care about Wi-Fi, but it's probably something they're trying to get away from maybe a little bit and stuff. So at least I'm sure that the moms and dads want the kids to get away from it anyway. So, but anyway, great report, Lynn. Okay, our next item is new county employees. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to say one thing about Kathy's service to the county. Since I've been here this last 3.5 years, we've done a lot. We've changed insurance carriers, we've changed voluntary benefits, and we've done a classification study. All three of those things are a lot of work, in addition to the regular work that she does in HR, investigations, and just helping a lot of employees. They used to call James Baker the Velvet Hammer, and I sort of say that Kathy's like that. She really knows how to help employees that need it, but also if you need the hammer, she can do that. It's a unique trait. She's got great judgment, and we're all going to miss her around the organization. So, I have a list of new employees through April 18th. At Health and Human Services, Samantha Fisher, Alicia Birchfield, Daniel Lewis Brendel, Ashley Hughes, Amanda Brown, and Jeanette Carrillo. Sheriff's Office, Charlotte Losiah, Ryan Davis, Mark Caldwell, Angela Franklin. In Facilities and Maintenance, Matthew Connor and Caleb Bailey. Technology and Communications, Cheyenne Truitt. In Fleet Management, Charles Clark. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, welcome to all those employees. Okay, Bryant, next is the 2022-2023 county budget update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Okay. This is not the official recommended budget. That will be 2 weeks from today, and we actually have quite a bit of work to do, but I wanted to talk to you about some of the main budget drivers that we're facing. I think I've talked to all of you individually about the budget, but I wanted to get this in front of you publicly. Today we're going to cover really salaries, operating and capital. Spend a few minutes going through all of the different drivers. If you have questions, please stop. I want this to be more conversational. I think back in February I updated you that we had requests of 28 positions. That was a total of $1.765 million. That would be recurring. You can see from the list, it's everywhere. It's general government, public safety, support services, human services. All of our departments actually need folks. As the budget sits right now, I don't have any of the requested positions in the budget. I know we're sound financially, but it's a big number. But I did want you to see that departments have a need. Their workloads are increasing quite a bit. I will mention that in animal services, there are 3 requested. That's on your all's agenda later on today. Employee compensation. Currently, we have in the budget what would equate to a 5% raise, 3% COLA, 2% merit for just under $1.75 million. If you look at the Consumer Price Index for February of 22, it was an increase of 8.6%, and of March of 22, it's 9.2%. So 5% total is well below what the CPI is increasing, but it's roughly $360,000, $375,000, 1%. So this will get us about half of what CPI is, and hopefully we're not in a long period of inflation to where this does help employees. But if we were going to try to keep up with 9.2% increase in wages, we'd basically have to double the 1.7 million. We do have the Christmas bonus in it, $175,000. Longevity will be funded, and the 401k is still at 3%. Medical insurance, which is a big driver, we'll spend some time, is increasing $1,000 per employee per year. Any questions on that? Okay. Active employee increase this year is 9.5. Next year, we think it will be about 10.4 million. Same thing, we've got an increase of 5.7% for retirees. And overall, it's a 5.7% increase, but because we added some positions in FY22, it's driving the active number. The total increase of health insurance is about $956,000. This is just a graph showing the trends. If you look at the outlying bump of 9.6 million, that was kind of the trend when we were with Crescent. We made the change to Aetna, and you can see that the trend is still growing, but it's a little less steep than it was. So the switch to Aetna has saved us based on growth, but it's still a large increase for us. Spending by condition, I showed you this graph back in February. You can see here there are 7 drivers of our top costs. If you pull out COVID of 240,000, I think this is about 1.6 million of the 1.9 million listed. And they all really relate to high blood pressure, maybe diet, exercise, those kinds of things really could be avoided. We talked in February about broadening our disease management care. We currently have a plan with Health Map RX that focuses on chronic high blood pressure and diabetes. And you can see we only have 49 people in that program. The 49 in the program have cut their costs on average by $1,200. We've got 117 people that are not in the program but are eligible. And on average, they've increased their costs by $6,300. So we really want to spend FY23 getting some folks into managed care. We know we can save, that's a swing of $7,500 per employee. If we can get just to the average of 60% of the folks that are eligible for managed care, we can save almost $380,000. Any questions? So in next year's budget, in that estimate, I have funds to include expanding the managed care to see if we can slow the growth of our health insurance. Major operating increases. Operating is up just under $2 million. Currently, $438,000 is in education. That's community college and the school system. That continues the commitment of the funding formula for the county school system. It is the last year of that funding formula, and I think Dr. Nolte talked to you at the last meeting that he and I are going to sit down in early summer and see if we can work on what that funding formula needs to look like. And one of the drivers is the losing student population, as Dr. Nolte referenced. We have an increase of almost $300,000 for foster care. There's a formula that the state has set up, and you may remember in FY20 we had a significant increase. I think it was like $690,000. So the amount of the county share of the cost of foster care continues to increase, and that's just based on housing children. Inmate costs, well, you may remember we recently redid the meal program for the inmates, or for the jail. We've got increased costs in the health for inmates. We also have some additional shipping costs if the jail is full, and just day-to-day supplies. It costs a lot to run the jail. And fuel, you'll remember a couple of meetings ago, we took $250,000 out of fund balance to set aside to get us through this year. Trend is right at that same number for next year based on our fuel costs. Any questions? So currently in the budget, this is the funding for the schools and the college. We have 3.3 in operating. 648 was the college's capital request and debt of 1.6 million, and county school system 16.7 million, 900 in capital, 2.06 in debt. Keep in mind both capital and the debt are funded through their sales tax allocations. We have the set aside for Article 46 and then different articles for the schools. On the equipment side, we actually are replacing one less vehicle in 23 than we did current year, but We've got those categorized as holdovers. You know, we've talked to the board multiple times about vehicles, the scarcity of them. So we're going to replace 23 next year, or we've proposed 23, but 3 are supposed to be ordered this year. We just can't get. But it's an increase of $764,000, and really it's all tied to the number of ambulances being replaced. We have $1.3 million in for replacing 4 ambulances. This is a pretty small graph, but you can see we have basically 10 vehicles for the sheriff's office, 4 for EMS. We have 2 for animal services. So out of all of the vehicles, 16 of the 23 vehicles being replaced are for public safety. We have 4 for Health and Human Services, but 2 we weren't able to get this year. A replacement of the solid waste truck. There's actually nothing wrong with this truck. It's 2017 with only 42,000 miles. You may remember that the search and rescue team is funded and housed with the rescue squad. They need a vehicle. The SAR team truck is high mileage, and we don't intend on transferring title to the rescue squad, but moving this vehicle over to EMS so we have a good working vehicle for search and rescue. Since it will be 6 years old, low mileage, we think that they can put a camper top on that truck and it will serve the SAR team for multiple years. And we'll replace that vehicle next year, hopefully. Then tax assessor, it's a 2008 Ford Escape, low mileage, but it's so old we can't find parts for it, so it's actually just sitting. It's not drivable. And then replacing an 08 for development services. Any questions on vehicles? We're currently working with Mosley. I think Friday they sent us an updated contract. It will be to the Board of Commissioners to review and possibly approve on May 16th. We've already met with our financial advisors working on how we'll do the debt for the jail. We think we'll probably need to sell bonds in January or February of 23. That doesn't mean that a debt payment for the jail is not until 24. And then we've talked multiple times about doing a renovation or a construction project for the library. Don't have funds in the budget for anything, but I did want to mention to you, it's not off the radar screen. And you can see estimated loan payments for the jail. It's a little over $2 million. Show you, I think you've seen our existing debt profile multiple times. We're very, very sound financially from a debt margin ratio. And this is what the debt payments will look like with jail expansion. Keep in mind, this is not the college or the school debt. This is just county debt. I want to share with you some information. So our payout, 10-year payout, means the amount of our debt that will be paid off within 10 years is 67%. To give you some context, the S&P, the rating agency, says anything over 65 is generally good, and you get 1 point awarded to you as far as their equation on your sound financial practices for that. So we're in great shape there. Debt to assessed value ratio currently is 0.44%. Moody's rating agency says anything less than 0.75% is very strong, and S&P is more liberal. They say below 3%. So in both Moody's and S&P, we're very sound in our debt ratios. And then debt to expenditures, it's currently 5.88%. S&P rates anybody less than 8% as very strong. So there's 3 really important metrics there, and we're very strong in all 3 categories. So it shows that from a debt standpoint, we're in good shape, and layering in the jail won't change that. Outlying years, I already mentioned the debt for the jail. We're going to have some operating increases eventually as well. You know, based on the Mosley study, this expansion should Haywood County or provide for our needs for 25 years. So we'll do a phased staffing, but when you open different pods, if you will, you'll get increases from staffing, cost of inmate, utilities, medical. We're going to continue to fight increases for employees based on that $380,000 per 1%. Even things return back to normal, we're probably looking at 4% yearly increases if we're going to keep pace with the region. And then just service demands. The school funding formula I talked about with Dr. Nolte earlier, those 28 positions that were requested, we've got a lot of work. There's a huge demand on our services, and who knows what inflation is doing. We're very cautious this budget year. While everything seems to be in the right direction as far as growth and property and sales tax, it also feels a little bit like 2006 and 2007 to me as far as what we need to be prepared for. And so we are being a very conservative approach to the budget this year because just need to be ready for what's around the corner. Next steps, going to meet with you all individually later this week, be back in front of you presenting the official recommended budget on the 16th. Tuesday, May 31st is scheduled as the public hearing on the budget, and hopefully you consider adoption on June 6th. I don't have anything else, but I'll be willing to answer any questions you have about what's in the budget process, anything that you'd like to know.
We meet with you this week, right, Brian?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I've noted a few things that I'd like to discuss, but we can do that when we meet and then come back at the next meeting to discuss those.
Okay.
You're meeting with all of us individually this week, right?
This week, yes, sir.
Do I have any questions on the initial?
No, just a comment. Everything going up like it is. I know the 4 ambulances, we got hit one budget year having replaced 4 ambulances. And in 1 year, Bryant, just for the public's benefit, could you share how much ambulances went up in one fiscal year?
Yeah, well, there's a couple things. They're going up, but you can't get them either. We know that the ambulances that we ordered aren't going to be delivered within this fiscal year. And Travis, through his contacts with vendors, saying that this is going to be the kind of path we're in for 30 months or so. So we've seen some increases. I think in 20, the ambulances were around $280,000, and the last was about $320. So we've seen a huge increase. And the mileage that we're putting on ambulances, we were 35,000 a year, and because hospital capacity and diversion, things like that, we're over 40 or 50. So it's driving fuel costs, maintenance costs, and we're ready to retire the ambulances much earlier. So it's not a good situation, but it's we've identified what it is. Now it's how do we get better at that?
Now that's something that the regular consumer, much less a county government or state or federal government, has to deal with. I think regular consumers have noticed that problem as well. Shortage of vehicles, actually increased price even on used vehicles. So, you know, it's just one of those situations to where you can't wave a magic wand and fix it. You know, you go pay market value if you can get it. And on a situation like an ambulance, that's one of the basic needs that the county government needs to take care of. And we're just kind of caught in a situation where you have to pay the fiddler if you're going to dance. And we've got to do that.
You're correct.
We'll have lots of questions, I guess, when we meet with you.
Yeah, I start to say we'll hit him up when we meet with him individually.
Friday at 1 o'clock, right?
Bring my boxing gloves.
All right. Thank you all.
Okay, thanks, Brent. Okay, next order of business is discussion or adjustment to the agenda. I do have one item, is to request approval of a memorandum of understanding between the county and Charter Spectrum to apply for the 2022 Great Grant, committing the county not to exceed $100,000 in matching funds if the grant is awarded to be paid from the American Rescue Plan funds. So, can I have a motion that we make that item 6 of the regular agenda? And this is a time sensitive, and which is why I'm having to add it.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion at all? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, we'll add that as item number 6. We'll move on to the consent agenda. There are 6 items. Does any commissioner have any question on any of the 6 items in the consent agenda?
Just have a comment on item number 3, the request budget amendment to the library. It's only $400. I do want to make a comment about that. It's a STEM, Girls STEM Ahead with NASA to boost events, work with subject matter experts, and display exhibits for the purpose of exploring the wonders of NASA science. That STEM is an acronym for this National Girls Collaborative Grant, and it has the purpose for women to explore science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So doing a little research on that group, that's a great initiative for women, for girls, and specifically girls, and I just want to make a mention of that. Science, it is an acronym, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So it's Girls STEAM Ahead, I think, is their little acronym. So I think it's a very good project, even though it's a very small budget item to accept the $400, but it is worth making mention of.
Thanks, Tom. Anybody else have anything?
Is there anyone on the staff that could explain to the public, because 3 of these deal with funds to establish Fund 60 as a special revenue / fiduciary fund in compliance with, I assume that's General Assembly Senate Bill 84. So maybe somebody give some background on those, since 3 of those are, okay.
This is from the GASB 84, which is the Governmental Accounting Standards Board.
Okay.
These are funds, we used to call them agency funds, and not all of them flowed through our books essentially, but now we are required by that GASB 84 ruling to put these funds on our books. They're not our funds. They are custodial type funds. We collect them and then we pay them right back out. So we're required to put those on our books. They have to be segregated into their own fund, and they have to be budgeted, which comes from that GASB 84.
Okay. Is that new, or is that something?
Yes, that is new.
Okay. And is it just, it's the same funds we've been receiving, we have to document them
Yes.
differently?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes, some kind of new procedure you're supposed to.
Yes, it's just the accounting piece, really.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're looking really good today, too.
Thanks, Kurt. I do owe Christian an apology. I'm sorry, Christian. I just thought it was great that you came, that you're still with us and everything. So, because a newborn, I'm telling you, we had 6 of them, so I can tell you it's rough. I'll probably get in trouble again. So, wish we'd had more. Okay. Any other questions on the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Oh, okay. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, we'll move. Our next order of business is the regular agenda. And item 1 is to request approval of 3 full-time shelter technicians to replace 6 part-time temporary shelter technicians for the Animal Services Department to be paid from fiscal year 2021 budgeted funds. And Howard, our Animal Services Director, is here today to talk about that.
Good morning. This is a request, as you stated, for 3 full-time shelter attendants in lieu of replacing and doing away with 6 part-time shelter attendants that are temporary. To give you information on that, that is 20 hours per week. Anything over that would require benefits. Currently, Animal Services has 8 part-time temporary shelter attendants working in the department covering 7 days a week. During this current budget year, the department has maintained consistently of 2 vacancies, and within this budget year up to this point, 10 of these positions have had turnover during the year. The adding of 3 full-time positions and eliminating the 6 part-time positions will provide consistent coverage for the department and an actively engaged employee working full-time. The budget impact for the positions during the current budget will be paid for by lapsed salaries. Be glad to answer any questions on that.
You think you'll be able to fill these positions
Yes, sir.
right away?
Yes, sir.
I mean, you seem pretty confident about it, so.
No, I have,
So is this-
answer any I mean, I currently have 3 vacancies now.
So does this replace the 3 you requested with your budget?
Yes.
Okay. So we're approving the 3 that you said 0 to, we're approving them today.
Correct, yes, sir.
Means we're exercising our authority over you today.
It's a preemptive strike. We're going to 25 right now. We do this, if we do this. So you're going to use the 6 part-time position salaries to pay for the 3 full-time?
Correct. I mean, I have a difference of what that is.
Yeah.
It's the 3 full-times, it's less than the cost to, the impact of the cost is less than 50%. I mean, it's $70,000 instead of $161,000. That's the impact.
Well, not only that, but just the struggle of trying to find those folks. I know that's been a struggle for you, trying to get people to come in on a temporary basis.
Well,
people just don't want to work for.
Yes, sir. And you have more buy-in from the employee. It's a full-time employee. They have stake in it. We're very fortunate as employees full-time in this county, and I am new to, 2.5 years. But it is a very phenomenal benefits package that is provided by this county. And I think a lot of us employees don't realize what doesn't come out of your pocket when you get your check. So we're very fortunate as full-time employees to do that. And that's what this is benefits and having them there every day. Now, we've caught the inspector a couple times in the afternoons. Our part-times mostly come in the mornings, and they're gone by noon, just because to keep that 7-day filled. And we do have some mandates in the afternoons that we have to get after with the officers coming back in and attending to clean up, a second cleanup mandated by the state for the animals. So.
It's never my intention to put you on the spot, but
No.
I'm going to anyway. Is turnover related to the fact that these have been part-time positions and the employment market is extremely competitive? You can pretty well name your price and your position now. So do you feel like by converting these to full-time positions that will alleviate the turnover issue?
I can't guarantee, but
Sure.
I can go by past full-time employees that I've had in the time that I've been over the department, and I've only had 1 turnover of full-time employee as opposed to multiple, not just this budget year, but the prior budget year when I started, multiple turnover. It's a gap job. They have other responsibilities or other jobs, which I would assume they would. Or either they find full-time employment and they go to take that full-time employee
Sure.
because they want full-time employment. So I didn't know if that would answer your question.
It does. It's tough out there, and I know it costs you time and the county money to train new employees. And so, if we can shore that up a little bit and get people in there and get them settled, it helps you and the county as well.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody got any questions? I guess I'll entertain a motion. We approve item 1 of the regular agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you, Howard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 2, the regular agenda, is to request approval of a lease agreement between Haywood County and Dennis K. Francis for leasing of approximately 10.2 acres located on parcel A626-22-6731, which is Francis Farm Road in Waynesville. We have our Assistant County Manager, Chris Boyd, here this morning. Hey, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This is an area of Francis Farm landfill that is the buffer down low along the creek. It's not part of the landfill itself or the CAP project. This lease is proposed for a 1-year time frame, and it's specifically for mowing of hay. Ideally, with this lease, it will keep us from having to mow the 10 acres of ground in-house.
Have any issues with that or questions?
Keeps us from having to mow it and keeps it from growing up.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion we approve item 2 of the regular agenda.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you, Chris.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, I'd like to offer a sincere congratulations to Kathy McClure for her hard-earned retirement. I'd also like to thank her for all the years of being a mentor and a friend. It means a lot to me. We've grown close over the years, and I wish to offer her a thank you and well wishes for the retirement future.
Okay, we'll move to item 3 of the regular agenda. Request approval of a resolution designating the finance director of the County of Haywood County, North Carolina, to declare official intent on behalf of said county to reimburse certain expenditures under the United States Department of Treasury regulations. Go ahead, Bryant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a resolution in front of you that is required for us to pay ourselves back, if you will, for some costs associated with debt projects. And so as we move forward with the jail, architect engineering fees, some of the work we've had done on the site, we fronted that money. And so by passing this resolution, you would authorize Christian to sign the paperwork that when it comes time to borrow money, if we want to pay ourselves back, we can. This is just a formality with Treasury, but required.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion we approve item 3 of the regular agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Is there any questions at all?
Is there a section 2? Is there a section 2 to this resolution?
I'm not sure, no, not to my knowledge.
I was just looking at the form of it. I don't.
Okay.
You may not need a section 1 if you don't have section 2. You just have the resolution, but that's okay. I don't think we're going to get in trouble for
it. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, item number 4 is to request approval of a budget amendment for debt service for $609,000 to reallocate debt service principal to the general fund. Hey, Christian.
Good morning. This is just to move the debt service budgeted amount. I want to be clear, county debt was paid for with county funds and school debt was paid for with school funds. This is purely reallocating. One was over budgeted and one was under budgeted. It's just bringing that back in balance.
We've got any questions for Christian? Okay, I'll entertain a motion we approve item 4 of the regular agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Unanimous. Thank you, Christian. We'll move on to item 5 is to request approval of Civil Design Concepts Incorporated to proposal in the amount of $49,900 for the design of the proposed recreation pickleball facility project, and approval in the amount of $295,100 for the construction of the proposed recreation pickleball facility project, and approval for the county manager to execute all documentation involving the design and build of said project, and approval of the budget amendment, Capital Project Fund outdoor recreation of $345,000 to appropriate funds from excess salaries from the American Rescue Plan, fund proceeds to cover costs of recreation pickleball courts. Our Community and Economic Development Director, David Francis, is here to talk about that. Hey, David.
Good morning. That may have been the longest agenda item.
Yeah.
Let me just back up just a little bit, and because some folks may not know what pickleball is. It was new to me a few years ago, and so I just want to let's talk about that. I've got a pickleball Bible here that's been very helpful as we plan and do things. Pickleball is an easy-to-learn and fun sport that combines many elements of tennis, badminton, and ping pong. It can be played both indoors or outdoors on a badminton-sized court with a slightly modified tennis net. Pickleball uses a solid or composite paddle and a seamless perforated plastic ball approximately the size of a baseball. Like other racket and paddle sports, the object of the pickleball is to hit the ball over the net so the opposing player on the team cannot return it successfully. So everybody asks me, where does the pickle come from? So when the sport was invented back in Seattle about 50 years ago, the name of the dog between the two folks that invented the game's name was Pickle. So there's nothing more. I thought it was kind of funny to find out. And so, we've been looking at this. Pickleball is now the fastest growing sport in the U.S. I sent that to you a couple of weeks ago. And the CNBC just had a program on it this morning. It says nearly 40% of the growth since 2019. 21% of growth has come between ages between 6 and 24 years of age. So it is a growing popularity. One of the things that when we were discussing this is that there wasn't dedicated pickleball courts in the county. And then play over at Lake Junaluska, they re-taped the lines and lowered the nets to that. There wasn't a dedicated place. So one of the things that, when looking at projects that I look at is, what amenities can we provide for the citizens? And also, what can we do on economic development as well? And when we're discussing this with the Tourism Development Authority, and unfortunately Ben Wilder couldn't be here today, he's at a conference in Dallas. And it was about bringing those tournaments here as well, too, and having that aspect there. So we were providing amenities and also having an economic development driver as well. That's the same thing we did with Chestnut Mountain when we invested in Chestnut Mountain. Thing we talked about 2 weeks ago with the Francis Farm Bike Park. Those are amenities that we're adding for our citizens, but also is an economic development driver for the county as a whole. So I'd like to seek your approval for the CDC engineering. Patrick Bradshaw was the original engineer at Allens Creek Park when it was first being built. We went back to Patrick since his familiarity with the land up there. And the pickleball courts, there should have had a picture up there. There's a parking lot, and there's a strip of land, and then there's a walking path there. That's where we're going to program those courts in. I think it'll be a great driver for Allens Creek. It's a little bit tucked out of the way, and I'm looking for drivers to, to bring people up there to more so. And it's really, I've been surprised about how much, we talked about with Lynn talking about tourism development. I mean, after the pandemic, the same thing happened with Allens Creek Park. Got more and more and more use, and now it's going to become even a better destination for folks to be there too. So, any questions?
I know Brandon's on that recreation board, and y'all did a survey. You want to talk about that, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, when we done the survey, I was a little surprised, of the results. I guess I'm a football kind of guy, and when I seen the results come back and showed, pickleball was way up on the list, I was surprised. And I think what we got to remember is a lot of times we can't focus on what we want as an individual, but we got to look at what Haywood County needs and what they want. And I see just from the bike park that was mentioned, driving by there quite frequently because I live on that side of the county. It looks like we're going to have to build a bigger parking lot down there. Yeah, I mean, and again, that's not my thing neither. I'd rather be at the lake sitting on the porch. So maybe not too good for recreation, but
amen to that.
Yeah. But anyway, those folks, I seen them there Sunday when I went down going to church. Seen them Friday when I had to go to Asheville to pick up some supplies. The parking lot's full. People standing around, see them going up on the mountain. So Outdoor recreation, from our rec board, we changed our mind here several years ago to start focusing on outdoor rec, and I think this fits in perfectly. The pickleball does, and the more I have learned about it, because I was like David, I didn't know a lot about it, but shoot, it looks like a fun sport. I mean, I may give it a shot. I may have to get some of these folks to teach me how to play. But I love competition of anything. I mean, don't matter what it is. I don't want to be last. So this sounds like a good fun sport. I think it's good for our folks. It's good for the folks that's getting to be about my age and up. So I think it's a great thing. So I don't sit on the porch at the lake. But I think overall it's a good move. And again, I think it's important that we look over all the interest of everybody in Haywood County. And I guess I'm saying I'm for it. So that's the comments I have.
And as Brandon mentioned, the Recreation Advisory Committee did support building the pickleball courts.
I'd like to comment on this. First of all, I want to say I appreciate you guys. I was out sick with the virus at our last meeting, and so I appreciate y'all listening to me by phone and the county staff being able to patch me in. So I'm the one that requested that we pull it off the budget and pull it off the agenda and vote on it separately. And so since then, I've had a fair amount of, you've sent me some things, and I think probably some folks in the audience have sent me some information, and I have actually gone by some of our courts locally and tried to educate myself a little further. So my intention was never to hold pickleball hostage, but I think for me, my concerns are we are charged to oversee, I think, the best use of county dollars, and these are, like I said, once-in-a-lifetime funds that have come to us through the ARPA dollars, and we've worked very hard to allocate those appropriately. But here's my concern. Tourism is huge. As a matter of fact, I have a vacation rental business and vacation rentals myself, and so tourism is very important to me. But so are also things like public safety. We have an EMS base in Clyde that we've worked very hard, the commissioners have and the county has the last year, to try to get it relocated, and we've not quite accomplished that. August the 17th, when Tropical Storm Fred came, we waited hours to get our rescue boats in the water. We lost 6 of our residents in that event, and emergency management in Haywood County, we don't have a boat. And so when I look at allocating $345,000, and I'm all about outdoor recreation, I love the park, I love to walk. I take my dogs and go and walk around the track and Clyde, and so I appreciate what everybody's saying, but my job is to oversee how we can do the best for the most. And so on this round of funding, I just would like for us to consider it really closely. It's not that I'm in any way opposed to pickleball, but I feel like we have other needs in the county that we've just not had the ability to meet. So that's the reason I asked it was pulled out.
How many courts are there?
I'm going to try to put 6 in.
So the location of these courts, is that as many as you can put in?
I'm sorry?
Is that as many courts as you can put in this location? There's no other way to get 8 courts?
That wasn't a question we posed to Patrick when we were looking at where we could host the tournaments. That 6 was that sweet spot. I'd have to go back and just take a gander at that, but we didn't ask for any more than that.
Yeah. I'm thinking I've never been to pickleball tournaments, but I've been to tons of basketball tournaments, and it does require, if you're going to have tournaments and things like that, it does require a certain number of courts in order to hold these tournaments, especially have different age groups, and so if we're going to do it, we need to do it right. I think. As opposed to, and instead of going just a little bit short, then make sure we've got, I think 8 is a good number. It's a good number of courts that I've seen in other type of sports, as opposed to 6. And it's kind of one of the reasons we turned away from developing the Jonathan Valley Park, was because, when we started looking at trying to put baseball fields out there at the time, and baseball was, a lot more, there was more attention paid to that at the time. we couldn't really maneuver the fields there in order to establish the number of fields you really need to have to attract major tournaments for economic dollars. I mean, it would have been good for local recreation, but not necessarily good for tournaments. So if we're going to do this, I would encourage that we try to do it right so you can attract that and be a facility where hey, this place has the capability to hold this particular tournament, whereas, you know, if it had two more, you know, if we had 6 courts and it had 2 more, we could hold this tournament. So, I mean, if you're going to do it, I mean, 2 more is not going to cost that much more money. I would probably do that. And you know, to me, this is 2 different things. We always need to take care of EMS. I mean, we always need to take care of those type of things, and I think we have funds to do that. We need to take care of this as well. These people are taxpayers that have come in, that have called me, that are here today in support of that. And I mean, we have seen evidence that it's the fastest growing sport. And if we can get in a little bit more on the front end, at least in Western North Carolina, then and probably it will be a good thing. And you know, the Haywood County, we haven't really stepped out. Our recreation department hasn't stepped out in quite a while to do a capital project, and this does meet the needs of our age population. We're the 4th oldest population in the state, and I think you know, a fairly active group. As a matter of fact, I see them lots of times. They're going faster than I'm going, but I'm coming to work so they can slide into the Armory to make sure that they make that those early morning games. But you know, after I've looked at it, and I appreciate Jennifer, you know, having us take a look at this again, and obviously WLS liked my comment on it. But at any rate, I'm in support of this, and I'm in support of making it a good facility. I think, you know, in the long run, if you make something a really good facility, it pays dividends. You know, lots of people thought when we were building the Justice Center over there at the time that, oh, that's just too many courtrooms. We're never going to need that many courtrooms. Well, you know, we're looking at having to move walls and do things, and we have courts in there all the time. The bailiffs I mean, they're not here today, but some folks are there that spend time at the jail a lot, and they'll know that we use that facility. And who would have thought when we built that facility that it would have gotten the use that it has gotten? And so I would like to plan ahead and do that if we possibly can. If we can't, we can't. But I'm in support of it. But I'm in support of, you know, trying to add 2 courts if we possibly could.
Anything, Tommy?
Well, yeah, I put my 2 cents in, but with inflation, I'll probably have to put a nickel, maybe a dime in to catch up. So, or a dollar maybe with inflation. But I guess pulling it off the agenda for 2 weeks has kind of put the limelight on pickleball. I don't know what Peter Piper would say about it, but it has put the limelight on pickleball for a couple of weeks. And I've had calls, emails from constituents that's for it and against it, but I've had a whole lot more for it than there were against it. And you put a unique situation like we're sitting in up here, and I know, look at some of these pickleballers out here, they look like they're in very good shape. And I admire anybody that stays physically fit. If you saw the county manager's report about our overall fitness of our county employees, you know, I think it would behoove all of us to get out and shake a leg a little bit more, whether it be playing pickleball or hiking or whatever. It's good for your health.
Chasing a cow?
Yeah, maybe chasing a cow around the side of the mountain or building a fence. But and that's part of my point. I'm like Brandon. My kids grew up. I grew up playing traditional sports: football, basketball, baseball. My kids, I wore a vehicle out to carry them to travel basketball, travel baseball tournaments, and so on and so forth. Those are the traditional sports. I've never played pickleball. I might entertain trying to learn how to do it, but I'll play to win. I'll tell you right now, I'll play to win. If you're going to teach me, I'm going to play to win. I'm going to beat you before I quit. No, probably can't. I'm looking at you guys, but you know, we're up here to represent all the people. We're up here to represent 60,000 people. We all have different ideas about what we like to do for public recreation. Even though I don't play pickleball, I commend you for playing it. And I represent all people here. I don't just represent a certain segment of the society, but I appreciate Commissioner Best pulling it off and opening it up for discussion. But I did have a discussion with Bryant, ironically, this week about public safety surrounding the Clyde EMS base. And folks, we've got a plan in the works on that. I don't know if you guys remember or not, but we've got the old Clyde Armory that somebody had a lot of foresight years ago when they cut that deed that we got it back if they vacated it. So that project is in works, correct, County Manager? I know we had Tropical Storm Fred, we had COVID, we had a lot of things that distracted us, but the EMS base is still on track for the old Armory, correct?
Yeah, the plan hasn't changed.
Right.
It's just the timing of when we got funds from the state and the,
and so
the scope of the project is what we're revisiting with the CDBG folks because there's more money available and actually David is making the ask.
So on that particular issue, we can have our cake and eat it too. I actually talked to the EMS guys 2 weeks ago, and they were asking me about the project. Currently, they're at the county Clyde Town Hall. The EMS vehicle has to sit out in the weather, and they're wanting that Armory project expedited, so they can get that vehicle in the dry, in a warm environment, and crank it up and go down the road when they get a 911 call. So that project is still on track, and that may have started before you were seated. I'm not sure, Commissioner Best.
No, we voted on that since I've been here.
So, but anyway, that project is ongoing. To Commissioner Kirkpatrick's concerns about possibly doing 8, I just happen to have inside knowledge. I sit on another board of the TDA member, and they've been dreaming about some pickleball courts and having pickleball tournaments through the TDA. So I'm in favor of the issue as it's presented, but I would look, Lynn, with the TDA to possibly help with 2 more courts. If that's possible, if you can work that out, it might be a viable option to partner there, and it would help tourism and economic development in that way. So I hate to put you on the spot, but we may reach out for you on that if that's feasible. And I agree, it's a lot cheaper up front to do something right than it is to come back later and refry the beans. So that's my dollar's worth, Commissioner Rogers. That's my dollar's worth, not 2 cents, but that's my dollar's worth.
Okay, I was asking my son. He played ball. He like you all said, traditional football, baseball, basketball, and he was. I said, "What do you think of pickleball?" And he said, "Dad, I think that's the fastest growing sport in America right now." So he's heard of it, and he likes to get out and do golf and all that. So he was looking forward to it. And then I've had contacts that wanted to do it. I've not had anybody contact me that said not to do it. So just So I've had several contacts, very detailed emails and everything, asking for us to do it. And then I would also be in favor of adding more courts if it's possible. Yeah, and stuff.
We'll look into it.
So look into it. Yeah, I would imagine if it's already graded out there, I think it's already flat. It's just a matter of paying for 2 more surfaces. Sounds like so. Maybe it won't be that much more. Anybody else did you have something?
Yeah, just a couple more comments. I guess we will need the other 2 courts so me and Tommy can go out there and practice maybe before we challenge some of these folks. But I did have some real comments. I guess what we got to keep in mind is this is the first round of this ARPA funding that's coming in. So we do have a second round coming in that we can allocate some other funds to. And then the other comment was, we talk about outdoor recreation, we talk about a rec board, but I know sitting on the rec board, sometimes when you get serious about things, you got to put the money where your mouth is. And I don't feel like we've done that, in the past. We talk about outdoor rec, but we're not spending any amount of money hardly toward that when you look at other counties. So again, I'm in support of it, and would be in support of adding additional courts. So.
Thank you.
I will say that we did vote for the $500,000 of the first round of ARPA for the master plan. When the state funds the grant, that will be a total of $1 million into the local Parks and Rec. So that's a sizable contribution.
I'll entertain a motion. Does anybody have anything else? I'll entertain a motion. We approve item 5 of the regular agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Okay, it's 4-1. That passes. Okay, we'll move on to, thank you, Dave.
I'm next.
Did you have something?
I'm next.
Oh, you're next?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so next is the one we added, which is, this was a quick request approval. I'll go ahead and read it again, sorry.
Okay, that's fine.
Request approval of the memorandum of understanding between the county and Charter Spectrum to apply for the 2022 Great Grant committing the county not to exceed $100,000 in matching funds if the grant is awarded to be paid from the American Rescue Plan funds. So go ahead, Dave.
Thank you. I appreciate adding this to the agenda. The next round of Great Grants applications are due on May 4th. And we had, Dr. Porto with the Haywood County Broadband Committee and I had been talking to Charter about, there was 187 homes that were in unclaimed territory, that it's an island, there's an island here of where, and then if you remember the Regional Digital Opportunity Fund that was approved by the federal FCC last year. And so it's called RDOF. Those RDOF territory, butts up against these islands is what I've been calling them. And so it helps that, Charter has received the RDOF grant and that they could actually, start working on these homes and then also start working on the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund territory as well, too. So we've been talking and talking, and then Friday afternoon they said, hey, let's get something going, let's do this. And so, we did a participation letter with Skyrunner last time, for 375 homes. It was roughly about $200,000. And one of the things that we, with this round of Great Grant funding, those funds have to be American Rescue Plan funds to receive the lowest cost, participation from the ISP, the Internet Service Provider, and the county. So I respectfully ask that we enter into the MOU. We are still waiting on some information from Charter as well. But what we did on that is we ran the numbers up at the highest number per house, which is $7,000. That's as far as you can go on the Great Grant on the application about what's the cost per house. They think that they can get that lower. And so that's why we did on the contract, or in the MOU, it was not to exceed $100,000. So it actually may be less than the $100,000 when they get all of their math done. But they were still working on that. I haven't talked to them this morning. I talked to them about 4 o'clock on Friday, and they were still trying to run that and make sure that they can, do the 187 additional homes. Okay.
Any questions for Dave?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion. We approve item 6 of the regular agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, it's unanimous. Thanks, Dave.
All right, thank you. Kathy, congratulations. We go back to the 1991, 92, maybe. So we've known each other for a long time. So it's been a pleasure to work with Kathy. Worked with her in the private sector and worked with her at the county. And there's not a finer person in Haywood County, and she's really going to be missed. And it was good soul there, good soul. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. So you guys go back to the last century, right?
He's telling on you, Kathy.
She said David was a tax client of hers. Okay, we'll move to our next order of business is appointments, and Bryant has 2. The first is to request approval of Carolyn Olive to the Haywood County Home and Community Care Block Grant and Aging Planning Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Olaf has lived in Haywood County 2.5 years. She's retired, and she mentions that she would like to assist the senior population for their best interest and experience civic duty outside of a nonprofit.
Okay. Entertain a motion, we approve item 1 of the appointments.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. And then number 2, Bryant, is to request approval of appointment of Wendy Jones to the Health and Human Services Agency Board to the consumer member position.
Ms. Jones currently works for REACH of Haywood County. She's been employed as a victim advocate for 18 years. She's volunteered as a guardian ad litem for the county and summer volunteer for Folk Mood. So she's interested in continuing her work outside of her employment to help with the county.
Okay, great. Any questions about that?
Just a comment, you know, if you read the applications, the qualifications of these folks, it's really encouraging as a commissioner to see the community people volunteer for these boards and the background they have and the heart they have for this county. You read over those two, and it's touching that they've decided to do this for these boards. So I make a motion that we approve Wendy Jones to this board.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Third.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. That's 5. Okay. That's unanimous, yeah. Okay, we do not have a closed session, so does anybody have any further business before the board? Have I got everything, Tracy? Is that everything? Okay. I'll entertain a motion, we adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.